Beginner pitfalls. If you're coming into FPV today, you're thinking, this is what I want to do. It's 2024. I'm finally taking the plunge. I'm going to get out there and get flying tomorrow. Stop, because you're going to be probably making these mistakes. This is in no particular order the biggest pitfalls that beginners coming into FPV and into our hobby are ever going to have. So number one, and I cannot stress this enough, if you fly around and you're using analog, digital doesn't have to worry about this, but if you're getting in, chances are you're probably going to be coming in on a budget system because it's much easier, it's much more accessible. Do not ever trust auto scan. Auto scan is the number one way for people to lose their quads. It is a stupid feature that comes on goggles, and essentially it lets people search for the correct frequency on their goggles, but it doesn't work because it's a terrible idea. I'm going to do a quick little drawing for you. Check this out. So I want you to imagine if you're flying around and you're using auto scan. Where's my mouse cursor? Right here. All right, so this is how I want you to imagine auto scan, right? So imagine you are trying to find what channel people are on, and we have all these different rooms. So you're going to be your headset goggle, and you're standing right here. This is you, okay? With this amazing Picasso drawing right here. And it is the same as if you were standing in a hallway with all these rooms around, and you have to find what area or what room a person is yelling from. So you might hear, the person might be in here and they start yelling down the corridor saying, you know, hey, here I am. So you hear all this sound bouncing down here and you think, okay, they're obviously this way. It sounds like they're coming from this room. However, there's no real easy way, because if it was coming from this room, it would almost sound the same, or here it would sound a little bit the same. And it is only then you might say, oh, yep, maybe you picked up a false positive, and you think, oh yeah, for a split second, there's a couple of different echoes, and I'm pretty sure they're in here. So you lock on to channel A, you go stand outside, you go flying. This is you flying around your little drone. Here's the world's best drawing, by the way. And now, instead of locking onto this channel right here, it was actually B. I'm not very good at drawing. You are now cruising around and looking for signal A, which is shouting, oh no, we've crashed our drone because it was in the wrong one. It's kind of the same thing. So your auto scan channel, it's going to pick up what it thinks is the strongest, but a lot of the times you're going to get false positives, or you're going to get false markings, and it's going to tell you and set your drone to the wrong channel, set your goggles and your receiver to the wrong option, and now you've lost your drone. The best way you can do it is to set your channel on your VTX table. You can use auto scan to find an image, doesn't mean it's the correct channel, and then manually, when you can read what it is on the VTX table, so have it displayed in your OSD, manually go and set that. So, it's on Fat Shark 1 or F1, which is 5740. I'm going to go through and manually set my analog goggles to that. Number two, gaps are so much more difficult when you actually have the goggles down. So when you first get into FPV and you think, man, I'm going to fly around here, I'm going to go up the side of my house and under this tree and like through this door in my house, it's never going to happen. When I first got into FPV, I thought, a 5-inch, look how much space there is. I can fly this through the house and through the doors and through the windows. That's never going to happen. You have no idea how much more difficult it is to fly FPV when you put those goggles down. You need so much practice and so much more space. It looks easy from a distance when you are watching it line of sight. When your goggles come down, if you're a new pilot, and even an experienced pilot will tell you, those gaps, I would say, feel like 20% of the actual size that they are. So you need a lot of skill and a lot of practice, which you don't have if you're a newcomer trying to fly around with tight gaps and those things. So take it easy. Find some easy places to fly first. Comes with that is a bit of experience. Never fly around people, never fly around property or anywhere where you can lose your drone, because, like I mentioned, you don't have the experience of how to fly these things. You don't know what your system's going to be like. Maybe you've done some auto scanning. It's just best to fly around in a nice, safe place to start with until you sort of feel out your drones. And if you're a newcomer into the FPV hobby, this one, you don't know how RC frequencies work. You will be getting some interference, some breakup. You need to learn to fly through that. And don't push the limits straight off the bat. Just because something is great right now doesn't mean that in 20 meters you're still going to have video. You got to understand you can't go behind houses. You can't go behind trees. You especially can't go like below line of sight in terms of the earth. If you've got some hills or mountains or anything in the way, it's going to drop your video so quickly that you're going to lose your drone and wondered what happened. So you need to go through a bit of a feeling, I'm going to call it like feeling it out phase, where you understand how far you can push your drone reliably and get it back. And you just keep skirting that edge a little bit. Don't send it out on a big long range mission as soon as you get it. It's never going to be a good day. And then the last part, I'm going to say, this is my final tip of if you're a newcomer coming into FPV and you see some videos and it's like, hey, here's the latest firmware. Do not update. Do not start updating and flashing and changing. If it works, leave it alone and stop fiddling with it, because I got that from Grumpy Trev. Like, if your ELRS receiver is working fine and you don't have any issues with it, don't upgrade it. You don't need to. Oh, you can get double the range on this update. But if you're not even having any issues flying around with what you're currently doing, then don't do it, because that's a time when things can go wrong. They can flash the wrong, like, that could be like flashing something on your computer, or like driver issues. It could be putting the wrong firmwares on, or updating and changing some of the settings, or forgetting to like dump some CLI settings. If you're a new pilot coming into the hobby, you don't need to upgrade everything and update everything. If it works, leave it alone. If you start to have issues with something, then think about updating it. That would be my a really big tip there as well. All right. Trader Saint Stu, I've been following you for 8 years. Love your content. Thanks, you got me into drones. Your $99 drone video got me started 8 years ago. How crazy times fly. It kind of is crazy, because we literally just talked about this video right here.